Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of the Harmony and watched the stars. He had spent 40 years in space, but he had never seen an alien ship before today. Nobody had. The massive vessel hung in the darkness like a mountain of silver and black metal. It was 10 times larger than any human ship ever built. "They're responding to our message," said Captain Yuna Park. She was young, only 30 years old, but she had steady hands and a calm voice. Audio coming through now. The speakers crackled. A voice emerged, deep and harsh, speaking in a language the computers quickly translated. "We are the Vorathian Collective. Identify yourselves." Hyun smiled. This was the moment humanity had waited for since they first reached the stars. Proof that they were not alone in the universe. He pressed the communication button. "I am Admiral Hyun of the United Earth Nations. We come in peace. We offer friendship and knowledge. Welcome to human space." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned. "Friendship. An interesting concept. We will meet face to face. Send a small ship to dock with ours." Dr. Nari Kang stood beside Hyun, her scientific equipment ready. She had studied biology her entire life, dreaming of this day. "I'll prepare the samples," she said. "We can show them our culture, our art, our science. Make sure to include the medical advances," Hyun added, "and the terraforming technology. We have so much to share." The shuttle carried Ambassador Jiho, Dr. Nari, and a small team to the alien vessel. Jiho had negotiated peace treaties across every human colony. He believed that any conflict could be solved with patience and understanding. He straightened his formal robes as the shuttle docked. The Vorathians were tall, nearly 8 feet high, with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were black and showed no emotion. They led the human delegation through corridors of dark metal. Everything looked sharp and cold. There were no decorations, no art, nothing soft. The Vorathian leader called himself Warlord Kresh. He sat on a throne in a vast chamber. Dozens of other Vorathians stood around him, all armed with weapons. "So," Kresh said, his voice like grinding stones, "you are the humans. Small, weak-looking, but you have built cities in space." Curious, Jiho stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "We are honored to meet you, Warlord Kresh. Humanity has long wondered if we were alone. Now we know the universe is full of life. We hope to learn from you and share what we have discovered." Kresh laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Share? You wish to share with us?" "Yes," Jiho said. "We have developed technologies that could benefit both our species. Medical treatments that extend life. Agricultural methods that feed billions. We would be happy to teach you." "Teach us?" Kresh leaned forward. "You misunderstand the situation, human. In the collective, there are only 2 types of species. Those who rule and those who serve. You will tell us which you choose to be." Quote, the smile faded from Jiho's face. "I'm sorry, but we don't accept that view. All intelligent species deserve respect and freedom. We propose a partnership of equals." The Vorathians in the chamber murmured among themselves. Some of them touched their weapons. Kresh's eyes narrowed. "Equals," he repeated. "You claim to be our equals?" Dr. Nari stepped forward quickly. "Perhaps we're approaching this wrong. Let me explain our biology, our culture. If you understand us better, you'll see that we're not a threat. We're not trying to challenge you. We simply want peaceful coexistence." Kresh stood up from his throne, all 4 of his arms spread wide. "I understand you perfectly, Dr. Nari Kang. Your people are weak. You smile and offer gifts because you have no fangs. You speak of peace because you cannot make war. In all the collective's history, we have met 47 other species. 30 of them chose to serve. 17 chose to resist. The 17 are extinct. You have 1 standard cycle to decide." The meeting ended badly. The humans returned to the Harmony shaken and worried. Admiral Hyun called an emergency council. Every captain in the diplomatic fleet joined the video conference. We need to contact Earth immediately, said Captain Yuna. If they're hostile, we need to prepare. Prepare how? Asked another captain. We don't have weapons. None of our ships do. We haven't built a warship in almost 200 years. Hyun looked tired. I know. But we can't just surrender. We need time to evacuate Proxima Station at least. Get the civilians to safety. Ambassador Jiho shook his head. We should try again. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe there's a cultural misunderstanding. Let me arrange another meeting. Jiho, Dr. Nari said softly. They don't want to talk. They want us to kneel or die. Everyone wants something, Jiho insisted. We just need to find out what that is. For 3 days, the diplomatic fleet sat in space near Proxima Station, sending messages to the Vorathian ship. The messages went unanswered. The alien vessel simply waited, silent and dark. On the 4th day, 6 more Vorathian ships arrived. Admiral, Yuna's voice was urgent. They're powering weapons. Multiple targeting locks on Proxima Station. Hyun's hands gripped his chair. Hail them. All frequencies. Tell them there are 40,000 civilians on that station. The communications officer tried every channel. No response came. The Vorathian ships moved into formation. Sir, we should move, Yuna said. Get between them and the station. Our ships have no shields, no weapons, Hyun replied. We'd just be throwing lives away. Then what do we do? Hyun had no answer. He had spent his entire life believing that reason and kindness could solve any problem. He had been wrong. The first beam of energy cut through space like a blade of light. It struck Proxima Station's main habitat ring. The explosion was silent in the vacuum. But Hyun could see the debris scatter, could see the tiny dots that were people, blown into space. Get us out of here, he ordered. Best speed. Send a distress signal to all human colonies. More beams fired. Proxima Station broke apart piece by piece. 40,000 people died in less than 10 minutes. The diplomatic fleet ran. The Vorathian ships followed, hunting them down one by one. The Harmony was the fastest ship. It outran the aliens, but Hyun watched on his sensors as ship after ship was destroyed. Friends he had known for decades. Gone in flashes of light. When the Harmony finally jumped to safety, only 3 other ships had survived. Hyun sat in his command chair and wept. Captain Yuna stood beside him, her young face hard and cold. That night, the Vorathian warlord sent a message across every human communication network. His face appeared on screens across hundreds of colonies. On Earth itself, everywhere humans lived. People of Earth, Kresh said. You have seen what happens to those who refuse the collective. Your Proxima colony is ash. Your diplomatic fleet is destroyed. You have 30 days to surrender your worlds and accept your place as servants. If you refuse, we will burn every human city. We will hunt you across the stars. You will kneel, or you will burn. The message ended. In homes across Earth, families held each other and cried. In government chambers, leaders argued about what to do. And deep beneath the frozen surface of Titan, in a vault that had been sealed for almost 200 years, ancient sensors detected the emergency broadcast. Warning lights began to flash in the darkness, where no human had walked in lifetimes. Something old and terrible began to wake up. President Dae Shin had not slept in 5 days. His office in New Geneva overlooked the peaceful gardens where children played. Families walked through parks, filled with flowers. Earth had become a paradise in the last 2 centuries. War was something people only read about in history books. Violence was rare. Weapons were illegal. Now the Vorathians were coming, and Earth had nothing to fight with. Mr. President, General Taeyang said. The general wore a crisp uniform, but looked uncomfortable. His title was ceremonial. The defense forces spent their time on rescue missions and disaster relief. They had no combat training, no weapons of war. The evacuation of the outer colonies is complete. We've brought everyone we could back to the inner system. How many did we lose? Day asked. 4 more colonies. 23,000 people. Taeyong's voice cracked. Our cargo ships tried to evacuate them. The Vorathians shot them down anyway. They're not even taking prisoners, sir. They're just killing everyone. Day closed his eyes. 23,000. Added to the 40,000 at Proxima. The numbers kept growing. What about the defense satellites? Useless, Taeyong admitted. They were built to track asteroids and debris. The Vorathians destroyed them in minutes. Sir, we need to discuss surrender. No. The voice came from the doorway. Su Ji-han stood there, her face scarred from the Proxima attack. She had been a teacher at the station, lucky enough to be on a shuttle when the attack came. Her husband and 2 children had not been so lucky. We will not kneel to those monsters. Miss Han, Day said gently. I understand your anger, but we have no way to fight them. If we surrender, at least some of us will live. Suji stepped forward. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Live as slaves? Watch our children grow up as servants to the creatures who murdered their families? That's not living, Mr. President. That's just dying slowly. General Taeyong looked at his tablet. Our civilian ships tried to ram one of their destroyers yesterday, a colony transport with 500 volunteers. They hit the Vorathian ship at full speed. He paused. It didn't even scratch their hull. They all died for nothing. The room fell silent. Day walked to the window and looked out at the peaceful world below. Children laughing. Flowers blooming. All of it about to end. There has to be something, he whispered. Some option we haven't considered. There is one thing. Dr. Minho Choi stood in the doorway. He was old, nearly 90. And his specialty was historical research. He carried an ancient datapad. But you're not going to like it. Day turned. Tell me. Minho walked to the center of the room. His hands trembled as he activated the datapad. A hologram appeared, showing a moon orbiting Saturn, Titan. In 2156, Earth nearly destroyed itself. The final war. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, AI-controlled armies that killed without mercy. Billions died. When it finally ended, the survivors swore it would never happen again. We know our history, Dr. Choi, General Taeyong said impatiently. Do you? Minho asked. Did you know that the peace treaty included a secret protocol? The winning nations agreed to disarm. They destroyed 99% of Earth's weapons. But not all of them. Day felt something cold in his stomach. What are you saying? Minho expanded the hologram. It showed a massive facility buried deep inside Titan. The burial protocol. They took the worst weapons, the most dangerous technology, and sealed it in a vault. 50,000 soldiers who had been genetically enhanced to be perfect killers. AI systems designed for war. Weapons that could crack planets. They put it all in Titan's core and sealed it forever. Why would they do that? Suji asked. Insurance, Minho replied. The leaders who signed the peace treaty were smart. They hoped humanity would never need weapons again. But they knew hope isn't a plan. So they buried the tools of war deep enough that opening the vault would require a unanimous vote from every nation on Earth. It would take a real crisis to make humanity choose violence again. General Taeyong stared at the hologram. Are you saying these weapons still work? After almost 200 years? The vault was built to last 10,000 years, Minho said. I accessed the monitoring systems. Everything is still functional. The soldiers are in stasis. The AI systems are dormant. The weapons are ready. Day sat down heavily. If we open that vault, we become everything we swore we'd never be again. We fought so hard to leave that darkness behind. The darkness never left, Suji said quietly. We just hid it. And maybe that was foolish. Maybe peace only works when everyone chooses it. For 3 days, the World Council debated. Some argued that humanity had evolved beyond war, that using the old weapons would corrupt them. that they should die as peaceful beings rather than become monsters again. Others pointed to the refugee camps, to the crying children who had lost their parents, to the empty colonies that now held only corpses. Suji spoke to the council on the final day. She showed them pictures of her children, little faces smiling at a birthday party. They were 6 and 8 years old, she said. They loved drawing. They wanted to be scientists. The Vorathians killed them because we were weak, because we had no fangs. I don't want to become a monster, but I want their deaths to mean something. I want to make sure no other mother watches her babies die while we stand by with empty hands. The vote was taken. It was not unanimous. 3 nations voted against opening the vault, but 207 voted in favor. The threshold was met. President Day signed the order with a shaking hand. He felt like he was signing away humanity's soul. God forgive us, he whispered. The message was sent to Titan. Deep beneath the frozen surface, in corridors that had been dark for generations, lights began to flicker on. Ancient systems ran diagnostic checks. Seals that had held for 191 years slowly began to open. Colonel Boram Lee had been stationed at Titan for 15 years. Her job was to maintain the vault's exterior systems and make sure no one tried to break in. She had always believed her post was symbolic, a reminder of what humanity had left behind. Now she stood in the main airlock as the massive doors opened. Cold air rushed out, carrying the smell of metal and something else. Something like old blood. Colonel, her assistant said nervously. The first stasis pods are coming online. Someone's waking up. Boram walked down the corridor. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The first chamber held rows of stasis pods, thousands of them. Through the frosted glass, she could see figures inside. They looked human, but something was wrong. Their proportions were off. Too muscular, too perfect. The nearest pod hissed as pressure equalized. The glass lid slid open. A man sat up. His skin was pale from almost 2 centuries in stasis. His eyes opened, and they were completely silver. No iris, no white, just mirror-bright metal. Status, the man said. His voice was flat, emotionless. I'm Colonel Boram Lee, Titan Security. You've been in stasis for 191 years. There's a hostile alien force attacking human colonies. The government has activated the unsealing protocol. The man climbed out of the pod. He was naked, but he didn't seem to care. His body was covered in faint scars and markings. Designation? He asked. Boram checked her tablet. You're listed as Sung 4. Special Forces. Enhanced Division. Sung 4 looked at his hands, flexed his fingers. How many of us did they wake? So far? Just you. We're bringing the systems online gradually. That's a mistake, Sung 4 said. Wake all of us. Wake the AI systems. Open the weapon vaults. If there's a threat big enough to unseal this place, you'll need everything we have. See, we're being careful, Boram protested. These weapons are dangerous. Sung 4 turned his silver eyes on her. We're not weapons, Colonel. We're what becomes necessary when weapons aren't enough. Your people spent 2 centuries pretending that kindness could protect them. Now you're learning the truth. Peace is a luxury that only the strong can afford. More pods were opening now. Figures climbing out. All of them had the same silver eyes. The same perfect bodies. The same empty expressions. Sung 4 walked to the window and looked at Earth in the distance. We're coming home, he said softly. And this time, we won't bury ourselves again. The deeper chambers of the Titan Vault opened like the layers of an onion. Each level held darker secrets than the last. Colonel Boram Lee walked through corridors that her clearance had never allowed her to access before. Everything down here was functional, but wrong. The walls were too thick. The doors were designed to contain something, not protect it. Dr. Isul followed her, clutching her medical scanner. She was a neural specialist, brought in to help with the awakening process. This place feels evil, she whispered. It's not evil, Commander Kwan said. He was former Special Forces, retired for 20 years, but the government had called him back for this. It's just honest. This is what we really are, underneath all the gardens and peace treaties. They reached the stasis chamber. 50,000 pods filled a space the size of a city. Sung 4 stood waiting for them. He had been awake for 6 hours now, and had spent the time accessing the vault's databases. Behind him, 500 other enhanced soldiers stood in perfect formation. They had dressed in black combat suits. They moved in complete silence. The AI cores are online, Sung 4 reported. I've briefed them on the current situation. They're ready to begin tactical planning. Wait, Borum said. The AIs were supposed to stay dormant until we understood what we were dealing with. Sung 4's silver eyes showed no emotion. The AIs designed this vault. They know what's in here better than you do. One of them wants to speak with you. A hologram flickered to life. It showed a humanoid figure made of blue light. The face was smooth and featureless. I am Harbinger, the AI said. Its voice was pleasant, almost friendly. I was created to command Earth's military forces during the final war. I orchestrated the defense of the Asian continent. My strategies resulted in 17 million enemy casualties over a period of 3 years. Dr. Isul's face went pale. 17 million people? Combatants and strategic targets, Harbinger corrected. Civilian deaths were minimized when tactically feasible. I have reviewed the current threat. The Vorathians are using standard suppression tactics. They expect you to surrender. They do not expect resistance. Can we fight them? Borum asked. The Vorathians have numerical superiority, Harbinger replied. Their weapons technology is approximately 70 years ahead of current human military science. However, it is 143 years behind the technology stored in this vault. With proper deployment, victory is probable. Commander Kwan stepped forward. What do you mean by proper deployment? Wake all enhanced soldiers. Activate the manufacturing facilities. Deploy the Grey Regiment. Harbinger paused. I should explain the Grey Regiment. You will find them disturbing. The hologram changed, showing another level of the vault, even deeper than where they stood now. During the final war, conventional soldiers proved insufficient. The enhanced soldiers were better, but still limited by their human psychology. They hesitated. They felt mercy. So a new program was created. Dr. Isul watched the hologram and felt sick. What did they do? Whined. They took volunteers, Harbinger said. Criminals facing execution, soldiers who were dying from wounds. They were offered a choice: death or conversion. Those who accepted were remade. Their bodies were rebuilt with synthetic organs. Their nervous systems were enhanced with cybernetics. Their minds were altered to remove fear, hesitation, and remorse. The Grey Regiment served in the final year of the war. They were our most effective force. Also the most controversial. How many are down there? Borum whispered. 20,000 in stasis. 20,000 biological weapons that look human but aren't. Not anymore. Commander Kwan's voice was rough. We can't use those. That's not soldiers. That's creating monsters. Sung 4 spoke up. We are all monsters, Commander. Some of us just accept it. He gestured to his enhanced soldiers. We were made in laboratories. Our genes were edited. Our bodies were designed for killing. The only difference between us and the Grey Regiment is that we can still remember being human, but that memory is faint. When I look at normal humans now, I feel nothing. You're soft, weak, a different species. Then why should you fight for us? Dr. Isul demanded. Because we were made to, Sung 4 replied simply. It's our purpose. The only thing we know how to do. Wake the Grey Regiment. Let us do what we were designed for. President Day arrived at Titan 12 hours later. He wanted to see what they had unleashed before making the final decision. Borum led him through the vault. The enhanced soldiers stood at attention as he passed. Their silver eyes tracked him without emotion. They're like machines, Day said quietly. Not quite, Doctor, Isul replied. I've scanned their brains. They still have human consciousness. They can think, plan, create, but their emotional responses are dampened. Fear is reduced by 90%. Empathy is almost non-existent. They're human enough to be brilliant at war, inhuman enough to do it without breaking. They reached the lowest level. The Grey Regiment chamber was sealed behind a massive door. Warning signs covered every surface. Boram entered the authorization codes. The door slowly opened. The pods here were different. Larger. The fluid inside was gray instead of clear. Through the frosted glass, Day could see shapes that were almost human. But the proportions were wrong. Too tall, too thin, extra joints in the arms and legs. Dear God, Day breathed. What were we thinking? You were thinking about survival. Harbinger's voice said from the speakers. The enemy in the final war was merciless. Conventional ethics became a luxury you couldn't afford. You became this to avoid extinction. Now you face the same choice again. A proximity alarm shrieked. Boram checked her tablet. Vorathian ships. They've detected the activity on Titan. They're sending a landing force. Commander Quan looked at Sung 4. How many? Scans show 50,000 ground troops, Harbinger reported. Dropships deploying now. They will reach the surface in 20 minutes. We have 500 enhanced soldiers awake, Quan said. We can't fight 50,000. Sung 4 smiled. It was the first emotion Boram had seen on his face, and it was terrifying. Wake the Grey Regiment. 500 of them. That will be enough. You're insane, Boram said. It's still 100 to 1 odds. Then it's a fair fight, Sung 4 replied. Dr. Isul began the awakening process. The gray fluid in the pods drained away. The figures inside began to move. The first pod opened. A woman climbed out. She was 7 feet tall. Her skin was the color of ash. Her arms had an extra joint that allowed impossible angles of movement. Her eyes were black from edge to edge. She looked at Dr. Isul and spoke in a voice like grinding metal. Threat assessment. Hostile alien landing force, Isul stammered. 50,000 soldiers. The gray woman nodded. More pods were opening. More of the Grey Regiment emerging. They moved like predators, fluid and wrong. They gathered around Sung 4, and he briefed them in quick, efficient sentences. President Day watched them prepare. Each gray soldier was equipped with weapons from the vault. Guns that fired microscopic projectiles at hypersonic speeds. Blades, made of molecular edge materials. Armor that could withstand everything except direct nuclear strikes. Mr. President, Commander Quan said, you need to leave. Get back to the ship. This place is going to become a battlefield. No, Day said. I ordered this. I need to see it. The Grey Regiment moved to the surface. They crossed the frozen landscape of Titan like ghosts. The Vorathian dropships landed in formation, and troops poured out. They were equipped with energy weapons and heavy armor. They moved in disciplined units. Harbinger provided tactical coordination. Grey Regiment, engage at will. Objective, total elimination of enemy force. The battle began. Boram watched through satellite feeds in the command center. She had studied military history. She thought she understood what war looked like. She had been wrong. The Grey Regiment didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like a natural disaster. They moved too fast for the eye to follow. They struck from impossible angles. Vorathian soldiers died without seeing what killed them. Energy bolts struck empty air where Grey warriors had been a microsecond before. The Vorathian commander tried to adapt. He concentrated his forces, created defensive positions. It didn't matter. The Grey Regiment flowed through defenses like water. They used the Titan's low gravity to make impossible leaps. They used the frozen landscape as cover, appearing and disappearing. In 4 hours, 50,000 Vorathian soldiers were dead. The Grey Regiment had lost 3 warriors. Sung 4 transmitted the battle footage directly to the Vorathian fleet in orbit. This is what we are, he said. This is what you've awakened. We buried this because we were ashamed. Now we're not ashamed anymore. You wanted to see our fangs. Keep watching. Keep watching. The Vorathian ships in orbit didn't respond. They simply turned and ran. The footage was already spreading across their communication networks. Fear spread faster than any weapon. Back in the vault, President Day looked at Sung 4. "What have I done? What was necessary?" Sung 4 replied. "Now wake the rest. Wake all the soldiers. Activate the factories. Build the war fleet. It's time to show the Vorathians what real monsters look like." The factories on Mars had been silent for 191 years. They had built mining equipment and terraforming machines during the Age of Peace. Now, they were being repurposed. Harbinger and the other AI systems had uploaded new designs. Assembly lines that once created habitat modules now produced warships. Admiral Yuna Park stood in the observation deck and watched the ships take shape. She had been promoted after Admiral Hyun died at Proxima. She was only 32 years old, too young to command Earth's fleet. But there was no one else. Everyone older than her had lived their entire lives in peace. They didn't know how to think about war. "The first squadron will be ready in 72 hours, Harbinger reported. Its hologram appeared beside her. "Each vessel is equipped with weapon systems from the Vault archives. They will significantly outmatch Vorathian technology." Yuna looked at the design schematics. The new ships looked nothing like the peaceful exploration vessels humanity had built for 2 centuries. These were dark, angular, built for killing. "How many Vorathian ships are we facing?" "Intelligence estimates between 8 and 12,000 vessels," Harbinger replied. "They have been calling reinforcements from across their territory. They are taking your species seriously now." 8,000 ships, Yuna repeated. "Even with better technology, we're outnumbered." "Numbers are not destiny," Harbinger said. "Superior strategy can overcome numerical disadvantage. I have fought against worse odds." The flagship Harmony had been rebuilt. It barely resembled the diplomatic vessel it had been. Now it bristled with weapon systems. Railguns that could punch through planets, missile pods containing warheads that could crack moons, energy shields that could absorb attacks from an entire fleet. Sung 4 came aboard with 5,000 enhanced soldiers. They moved through the corridors in perfect formation. The regular crew members stepped aside to let them pass. The enhanced soldiers scared them. Their silver eyes saw everything. They never smiled, never laughed, never showed any human warmth. "Your troops are settled?" Yuna asked. Sung 4 nodded. "We've taken the tactical deck. My people will coordinate boarding actions and ground assaults. Harbinger will handle fleet movements. And the Grey Regiment? Deployed across the reclaimed colonies. They're hunting down Vorathian occupation forces." Sung 4 paused. "You should know, Admiral. They don't take prisoners." Yuna looked away. "I've seen the reports. The Vorathians are terrified of them." "Good. Fear is a weapon." Sung 4 studied her face. "You don't approve." "I don't know what I approve of anymore," Yuna admitted. 3 months ago, I was on a diplomatic mission. We were bringing medical supplies to a colony. Now I'm commanding a warship, and we're planning to invade alien territory. Everything changed so fast. "War does that," Sung 4 said. "It reveals what was always there. Your people believed they had evolved beyond violence. But evolution doesn't work that way. You can't evolve away from what you are. You can only choose not to use it." Sujihan had volunteered for enhancement. The process took 3 weeks. When she emerged, her eyes were silver like Sung 4's. Her body was stronger, faster, more durable, but the worst change was inside her mind. The grief she had felt for her children was still there, but distant, muted. She could remember loving them, but she couldn't feel it anymore. "Is this permanent?" she asked Dr. Isul. The doctor looked sad. "I don't know. The original enhanced soldiers have been in stasis for almost 200 years. We have no data on long-term effects. But the neural modifications are deep. Reversing them might not be possible." Suji looked at her new hands. She could crush steel with them. "It doesn't matter. I can't go back anyway. My family is dead. My old life is gone. At least now I can make the Vorathians pay." The first major battle happened at the asteroid belt. The Vorathian fleet had established a staging area there, gathering ships for a final assault on Earth. 1,200 Vorathian warships faced 300 human vessels. Harbinger calculated the odds. Enemy firepower advantage, 4-1. However, our technological superiority provides an effective multiplier of approximately 6-1. Victory probability, 87%. Acceptable losses, 15% of our fleet. Admiral Yuna took a deep breath. Acceptable to who? To the mission objective, Harbinger replied. Every ship contains 300 crew members. 15% losses mean 13,500 casualties. However, defeat would result in total extinction of your species. The mathematics are clear. Yuna looked at the tactical display. Each dot represented a ship full of people. Sometimes I hate how logical you are. I was designed to win wars, not to make you comfortable with the cost. The human fleet advanced in a formation that seemed chaotic to the Vorathians. Ships moved independently, no clear structure. But Harbinger controlled them all. Calculating thousands of trajectories per second, each vessel was a piece in a game only the AI could fully understand. The Vorathians opened fire first. Energy beams crossed the void. But the human ships weren't where the Vorathians aimed. Harbinger had predicted their firing solutions and moved the fleet microseconds before the shots arrived. Then the human ships returned fire. Railgun projectiles traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The Vorathians' shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless. Kinetic rounds punched through ships like paper. Each hit was catastrophic. The Vorathian fleet tried to adapt. They spread out, creating distance. But Harbinger had expected that too. The human ships divided into hunting packs. 3 ships to each Vorathian vessel. They struck from multiple angles, overwhelming shields through focused fire. Sung 4 watched from the Harmony's tactical deck. They're panicking. Look at their formation. It's breaking down. Yuna saw it too. The Vorathian ships were trying to flee, but they had nowhere to go. Harbinger had positioned human vessels to cut off every escape route. The battle became a slaughter. Admiral, the communications officer called out. The Vorathian commander is trying to surrender. Yuna hesitated. This was her moment. She could show mercy. Prove that humanity wasn't just another species of killers. She opened her mouth to give the order, to accept the surrender. Denied, Sung 4 said. Continue firing. That's not your decision. Yuna snapped. Sung 4 turned his silver eyes on her. Admiral, they gave you no mercy at Proxima. They killed civilians who were trying to evacuate. They laughed when Ambassador Jiho begged for peace. Now they want mercy because they're losing? War doesn't work that way. We're better than them, Yuna insisted. Are we? Or do we just want to believe that? Sung 4 gestured to the tactical display. If you let them surrender, they will regroup. They will learn our tactics. The next battle will cost more human lives. Your mercy here means death for your own people later. Is that better? Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about Admiral Hyun, kind and gentle, dying in the first attack. She thought about the 40,000 people at Proxima, the 23,000 at the colonies. Continue the attack, she whispered. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 1,200 Vorathian ships were destroyed. The human fleet lost 38 vessels. It was a crushing victory. But the cost wasn't just in ships. Yuna looked at herself in the mirror that night and barely recognized the woman staring back. She had ordered the death of hundreds of thousands of beings who were trying to surrender. She had become what she always feared. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. Other species heard about the humans who had seemed so peaceful, suddenly becoming a nightmare. The Vorathians called an emergency council. Warlord Kresh addressed his people. The humans have awakened something terrible, he said. They fight like demons. They show no mercy. They use weapons we cannot counter. I recommend we sue for peace immediately. But the Vorathian High Council refused. We have conquered 47 species. We will not be the first to surrender. Gather the entire fleet. Every ship we have. We will crush Earth and end this. On Earth, President Day received the intelligence reports. They're coming with everything they have. 10,000 ships, Harbinger calculated quickly. We can produce 800 ships before they arrive. Odds of victory, 34%. That's not acceptable, Day said. Then I recommend a different strategy. Harbinger replied. Don't wait for them to attack Earth. Take the war to them. Strike at Vorathian space directly. Destroy their production facilities, their colonies, their homeworld if necessary. Make them feel the same terror they inflicted on you. Sung 4 agreed. Hit them where they live. Show them that declaring war on humanity means gambling with their entire civilization. Admiral Yuna looked at the star charts. The Vorathian homeworld was marked in red. You're talking about invasion. About attacking a civilian population. Well, I'm talking about ending the war, Harbinger corrected. Quickly, decisively, and permanently. The alternative is a grinding conflict that could last decades and cost billions of lives on both sides. Suji stepped forward. Her silver eyes were cold. They started this war. They killed my children. I say we finish it. We show them what happens when you awaken humanity's darkness. We make them regret every choice that led them here. President Day stood at his window, looking out at the peaceful earth below. Children still played in the gardens. But now warships filled the sky above them. The age of peace was over. Send the fleet, he ordered. Take the war to them, and God forgive us all for what we're about to do. The human armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Vorathian territory. 2,000 warships. The largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the Harmony and looked at the planet on the main screen. SciFiPrime, homeworld of the species that had started this war. Scans show 300 orbital defense platforms, Harbinger reported. Population of 6 billion on the surface. Military installations detected in 27 locations. Civilian infrastructure extensive. Sung 4 studied the tactical display. The defense platforms are antiquated. We can destroy them in under an hour. Then the planet is defenseless. And then what? Dr. Narikang asked. She had insisted on joining the fleet, though she had no military role. We bomb their cities? Kill billions of civilians? If necessary, Sung 4 replied without emotion. Nari looked at him with disgust. How are we different from them if we do that? We're not, Sung 4 said. That's the point. They thought we were weak because we chose peace. Now they understand that we're simply choosing not to be what we really are. And we can change that choice whenever we want. President Day's voice came over the communication channel from Earth. Admiral Yuna, this is your decision. I've sent you there with the power to end this war. How you use that power will define what humanity becomes. Yuna looked at her crew. Regular humans alongside enhanced soldiers, people who had been teachers and farmers 3 months ago, now operating weapons of mass destruction. Harbinger, show me the military targets only. Exclude civilian populations. That strategy will be less effective, Harbinger warned. Military installations are hardened. Striking civilian targets would demoralize the enemy faster. I don't care, Yuna said. We're not murderers. Target only military installations. The fleet moved forward. The Vorathian defense platforms opened fire. But their weapons were old. The human shields absorbed the attacks easily. Then the human ships returned fire. One by one, the platforms exploded. Within 40 minutes, the orbital space was clear. Warlord Kresh watched from the surface as the human fleet took position above his homeworld. He had sent message after message offering surrender, but received no response. Now he understood what terror felt like. His people had inflicted this feeling on dozens of species. Now it was their turn. Sung 4 transmitted a message to the planet. People of Vorathian Prime. You started a war with humanity because you believed we were weak. You killed our civilians. You destroyed our homes. You gave us no mercy. Now we stand above your world with the power to end your civilization. What happens next depends on your leader. We surrender, Kresh transmitted immediately. Please. We surrender completely. Sung 4 looked at Admiral Yuna. Your decision. Admiral. Yuna felt the weight of 6 billion lives in her hands. She remembered Proxima Station burning. Remembered Admiral Hyun dying in space. Remembered every colony that had fallen. Part of her wanted vengeance. Wanted to make them pay for every human death. But another part of her remembered why she had joined the diplomatic service in the first place. She had believed in a better universe. In species working together. In solving problems without violence. Harbinger, she said. Calculate this. If we destroy their military but spare their civilians, what's the probability they attack us again? Analyzing cultural and historical data, Harbinger replied. The Varathians respect strength above all else. If you demonstrate overwhelming power but show strategic restraint, the probability of future aggression drops to 3%. They will view you as apex predators, choosing not to kill. This creates a more stable peace than mutual exhaustion. Suji stepped forward. Her enhanced body was tense, ready for violence. Admiral. They killed my children. They deserve to suffer. I know, Yuna said gently. And nothing I do will bring your children back. But we can choose what world we build in their memory. Do we want it to be one built on revenge? Or one where we're strong enough to show mercy? Tears ran down Suji's face, the first emotion she had shown since her enhancement. I don't know if I can forgive them. You don't have to forgive them, Yuna replied. You just have to decide if killing billions will make the pain stop. Will it? Suji looked at her hands. Hands that could crush steel. Hands that had killed hundreds of Varathian soldiers in battle. No, she whispered. It won't. Nothing will. Yuna turned to her weapons officer. Target all military installations. Orbital strikes. Precision only. Minimize collateral damage. After the military is neutralized, we hold position. The Harmony's weapons fired. Beams of focused energy struck military bases across the planet. Command centers, shipyards, weapons factories, all turned to slag, but the cities remained untouched. Civilians watched the strikes from their homes, understanding how close they had come to annihilation. In 3 hours, SciFiPrime's military capability was destroyed. Not a single civilian had died in the strikes. This is Admiral Yuna Park of the United Earth Nations, she transmitted to the planet. Your military has been eliminated. Your space defenses are gone. We could kill every living being on your world within hours. But we won't, not because we can't, but because we choose not to. We wanted peace. You forced us to war. Now you will live with the consequences. Warlord Kresh stood in his ruined command center and listened. Here are our terms, Yuna continued. 1. Immediate and permanent cessation of all hostilities. 2. Reparations to be paid to the families of every human killed in this war. 3. Varathian territory is now under human oversight. Any future aggression by your species will result in immediate and total response. 4. You will broadcast to every species in this region of space that you attacked humanity and lost. They need to know what happens when someone threatens us. We accept, Kresh transmitted. All terms, we accept. But Dr. Nari wasn't satisfied. She took the communication channel. There's one more thing. You need to understand why you lost. You thought peaceful species were weak. You were wrong. We built a civilization based on kindness and cooperation not because we couldn't make war, but because we chose not to. We buried our weapons because we were ashamed of what we could do. You forced us to remember. You forced us to show you what we really are. Back on Earth, President Day addressed the World Council. The war is over. The Varathians have surrendered. But we face a new question now. What do we do with what we've unleashed? General Taeyang stood up. The enhanced soldiers. The Grey Regiment. The AI war systems. Can we bury them again? Sung 4 appeared on the video conference, transmitted from the Harmony. No. You can't. We're awake now. We exist. You can't pretend we don't. Then what? Dr. Isul asked. Do you stay soldiers forever? What else can we be? Sung 4 replied. We were made for war. Our minds are shaped for tactics and violence. We can't be farmers or teachers or artists. That's not who we are, Commander Kwan spoke up. Then we create a new role. Peacekeepers. Guardians. The species that threaten others now know what humanity can do. Let the enhanced soldiers be the reminder, the warning that keeps others honest. Living weapons, Suji said. She looked at her silver hands. Is that all we are now? No, Yuna said firmly. You're people who made a sacrifice. You gave up part of your humanity to save the rest of us. That deserves honor, not shame. The council voted on the new structure. Earth would remain a garden world. Peace would still be taught. Diplomacy would still be the first option. But the Titan Vault would stay open. The enhanced soldiers would remain active. The war machines would stay ready. Humanity had learned a hard lesson. Peace was not the absence of violence. It was the choice not to use violence. And that choice only had meaning if you had the capacity for violence in the first place. Admiral Yuna transmitted the final message to all spacefaring species. It was broadcast across hundreds of star systems, translated into thousands of languages. A warning and a promise. This is Earth. We are a species that chose peace. For almost 200 years, we lived without weapons, without war, without violence. We believed in a better universe. We wanted to be friends with everyone we met. The Vorathian collective tested that belief. They attacked us because they thought kindness meant weakness. They learned differently. Images played alongside her words. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt. The Grey Regiment in action. The orbital strikes on Vorathian Prime. We tried peace. We prefer peace. But understand this. Beneath our gardens and our courtesy lies something dark and terrible. We buried it because we were ashamed of it. Because we wanted to believe we had evolved beyond it. But evolution doesn't work that way. We are what we are. Predators who learned to farm. Warriors who chose to build. Killers who wrote poetry. The Harmony appeared on screen, bristling with weapons. A dark reminder hanging in space above the peaceful blue marble of Earth. We will always offer friendship first. We will seek diplomatic solutions. We will try to resolve conflicts peacefully. But if you force us to war, you will face what we buried. And it will not show mercy. It will not hesitate. It will not stop until you are no longer a threat. Choose wisely how you meet us. Choose very wisely. The transmission ended. Yuna looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were receiving the message. Some would be frightened, some would be angry, some would see it as a challenge. Let them, she thought. Let them know what happens when you wake sleeping monsters. On Earth, young Hana stood in a memorial garden. She was 8 years old, a refugee from one of the destroyed colonies. She planted flowers around a monument, bearing the names of the dead. 40,000 from Proxima. 23,000 from other colonies. The names of every human who had died in the war. An enhanced soldier stood guard nearby. His silver eyes watched the horizon, forever vigilant. He would stand there for decades, never sleeping, never relaxing, a permanent reminder of what humanity had become. But Hana focused on the flowers, on the beauty growing from the memorial, on the children playing in nearby parks. War had come and gone. The monsters had emerged and done their terrible work. But life continued. Gardens still grew. Children still laughed. Peace was possible. But only because humanity was finally strong enough to defend it. The age of innocence was over. The age of honest peace had begun.